Hi guys, welcome back to the VDC space. So today we're gonna be modeling a bridge pier and a bridge bearing, and then we're gonna nest them into a single family template. So essentially the purpose of today's tutorial is to do a nested family. It just so happens that we are gonna use a bridge pier and also a bridge bearing, and then we're gonna apply some parameters and use like some shared parameters and also parameter association. Before I get started, I'd like to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel. If you're new, please subscribe. If you already subscribed, hit that notification button because I upload BIM modeling tutorials every week. I cover different topics, as you can see on my playlist. So without further ado, let's jump into our project. So the first thing is I'm just gonna go to new family, and I'm gonna go with let's just go with metric generic model and say okay. And in this instance, we're gonna model first our bridge bearings. So I'm gonna go to the front elevation, select the reference plane, place it like that, and I'm gonna change this offset to, let's make it 350. So this is gonna be our plinth. So I'm gonna copy this by further, let's make it 250, and then our epoxy is gonna be 150. Okay, that's perfect. So I'm just gonna place some dimensions. So this is, let's apply parameters when it comes to this. So this is gonna be our plinth, which varies in depth. So it's going to be our plinth, and then this one is going to be our elastomer. So we are modeling an elastomeric bearing. So we're going to lock it. Let's just lock this, and then the last one is going to be our epoxy. So you're going to say okay, and then you're going to lock it. Now you're going to go to the reference level, go to create, place your reference planes. So I'm going to place one on each side across and like this. So this one, I'm just going to offset it by, let's say, 250. And also 250 this side. And this one is going to be 200. It's also going to be 200 this side. So this is going to be our epoxy, our plinth. So you're going to select extrusion, place a rectangle like this, and then just lock it, lock everything, and you're going to say finish. Apply materials to this. So this is going to be our concrete. So let's just type in concrete. And when you scroll down, you can say concrete cast in situ and say okay. And then go to the front elevation, and then you're just going to drag this upwards and then lock it. And as you can see, it doesn't look very much attractive. So what we're going to do is we're just going to increase the width of this. So let's just apply this dimension, place it like that, make this equal, select this, and then just type in width. Let's say, what is it? Plinth width. Okay, and then also this side, you're going to place two of them. These ones are you're going to make equal. And then this one is going to be your plinth length, and say okay. And then you're going to lock it again. So after this, so I'm just going to reduce the depth of these, the depth of the plinth. So if I go to our properties, the depth of our plinth is 350. So I'm going to make it 200. Say 200. And our elastomer, I'm going to make it 150. And then our epoxy is going to be 100. Perfect. So I'm just going to rename this. Let's just name this elastomer depth. Okay, epoxy. I'm going to rename it also epoxy depth. Okay, and then our plinth also, it's going to be our plinth depth. Say okay, and then okay. Perfect. Now you're going to go to reference plane again, and then you're going to place the other ones. So for we're not going to do parameters for our length and width for our elastomer and our epoxy. We're just going to place them. So let's just offset this. So we're going to offset this one by, let's say, 200. 200 also this side. And then this side, we're going to make it 150. And this side, we're also going to make it 150. There you go. And you're just gonna place it. So for our elastomer, we're not gonna incorporate some steel work and then some rubber. We're just gonna keep it an LOD 100, level of detail 100. So I'm just gonna place an extrusion like this. So if I say finish edit mode, go to the front elevation, I'm just gonna drag it towards this point, lock it, and then drag it towards this reference plane and then lock it. And then I'm gonna lock the two extrusions against each other so that when I modify the depth of the plinth, the elastomer and the epoxy will move along with it. So I hope that makes sense. So I'm just going to select this elastomer and then I'm just going to make it a rubber. So I'm just going to type in rubber for our material and I'm going to load it in, apply and say okay. And change this to fine, this to realistic. And if I go to, I'm gonna go to the reference level. So we're gonna model our epoxy. First, let's just go to the front elevation because our epoxy have different length and width. So we're gonna apply swept blend for two profiles. So you're gonna select sketch path, place it like this. So this is profile one, profile two. And say finish edit mode, select profile one, edit profile, open up the reference level, which is the floor plan, and then place your profile like this. It's gonna have the same dimensions as your elastomer, and then say finish edit mode, select profile two, edit profile, select another rectangle, and then you're gonna place it like this. The second profile is gonna have the same dimensions as your plinth in terms of width and length. And then if you go to the 3D view and say finish edit mode, this is how it looks. So what I'm gonna do is you're gonna select it, change the material, and you're gonna type in rubber. There you go. So this is basically our bearing. So if I go to the front elevation, let's just change this. So our epoxy depth, I'm gonna change it to 50 millimeters. Yeah, so I think it looks very much better now. So if I go to the 3D view, this is how it looks. And then for our plinth, I'm just gonna change its dimensions forward. For the width, I'm gonna make it 600. And then for the length, I'm gonna make it 450. And say okay. And yeah, this is how it looks. So there you go. We have our bearing. I'm just gonna tick this shared parameter option, and I'm just gonna open up a new family template for our bridge PM. So new family, and I'm gonna go to metric generic model and say okay. And first thing first, I'm gonna go to front elevation just to set up my height dimensions. Go to create reference plane. You're gonna place this one like this. So essentially this is gonna be our pier shaft. So for our pier shaft, I'm gonna make it, let's make it 8,000 millimeters. So I'm just gonna place a dimension right there. So this is gonna be, let's just apply parameters also. So this is gonna be our pier shaft and say okay, and then you're gonna lock it. And then I'm going to select this one, copy it further. So let's make it 2500. And obviously this is going to be our pier head. So I'm going to select this, paste the parameter. So it's going to be pier head. Say okay, and then you're going to lock it. Okay, so now on the reference level, I'm just gonna say create and say reference plane. I'm gonna place one on each side. So these ones, I'm gonna offset them by, let's say, 750. This one is gonna be 750. So 1.5 in total. And then place other two, one on each side, one on this side. And then this one, let's make it 450. 450. Perfect. And okay, let's increase this one. Let's make it 900. Okay, so I'm gonna say create and then select my extrusion, place my rectangle like this. And in this instance, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna say I'm gonna add like a chamfer right there. So I'm gonna offset this. Let's just place a random rectangle like this. So on this side, I'm gonna offset it by 100, and then in total it's gonna be 200. So I'm gonna select it, mirror it towards the other side, press SL for slice, and then you can select these points, and then so that you can remove these lines. Finish edit mode, go to the front elevation, drag it upwards, and then you're gonna lock it. Let's just lock it at the bottom also. So yeah, this is essentially our pier shaft. So you're gonna select it and you're gonna type in concrete, scroll down, concrete casting situ, apply, and then OK. And for our pier shaft, we're gonna go to reference level. We're gonna apply the same logic we did with the epoxy. So swept blend, go to create, and you know what? Let's just decrease the size of our pier head. So let's make it 1.5. Say OK. And then I'm going to go to create and say swept blend, sketch path. You're going to place it like that. Profile 1, profile 2. Finish edit mode, select profile, edit profile. Go to the floor plan or the reference plan. Select pick lines. You're going to pick the entire thing as your reference. Finish edit mode, profile 2, edit profile, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna still let's just place a random rectangle like this. So this side you're gonna offset it by, from this point you're gonna offset it by 500. You're gonna drag it also this side. Let's offset it by 500 this side. Perfect. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add another extrusion, another chamfer like this. It's not a chamfer, more like a sweep. Let's say a sweep. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna offset it from this point by 1.5. Okay, that's too much. Let's make it 700. So in total, it's gonna be 1,400. It's too much. Let's make it 500 or 350. Yeah, I think 500 is fine. So it's gonna be 1,000. Let's just remove this one. Select this one, mirror it towards the side, and let's just say trim and extend, trim and extend. So if I open up the 3D view and say finish edit mode, let's say finish edit mode, this is how it looks. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select this, and then I'm gonna say concrete cast in situ, and this is what we have. So this is the way I used to model like my elements when I was working under contractors. Essentially, when I get drawings, I had to separate everything according to construction joints. So yeah, that's the basis of modeling under contractors because it makes it easier for them to do some planning and also to separate quantities and also elements. So yeah, I think it's a really great practice when you do that. So yeah, we are done with our peer. Let's just press VR and set this to unlimited so that we can see the top. I'm gonna set this 15,000. Apply. Okay. So this is what we have. Let's just set this to hidden. Okay. So now going back to our bridge bearing, I'm gonna say load into project and say close, and then I'm not gonna save this. So I'm gonna load it into our peer, and then I'm gonna place it right there. And essentially, as you can see, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go to the 3D view and I'm gonna select this. I'm gonna say edit family. Let's just say edit family. So because I want to automatically place it on top of our peer head. So in order for me to do that, I'm gonna check this box, which is work plane based. I'm gonna check it and then I'm gonna load it back into our peer. Override the existing version, and then let's just delete this, go to reference level, create component, and then place on the face. I'm going to say on the face, and then I'm going to place it right there. Now it's placed on top of our peer head. Go to the 3D view, and essentially this is what we have. This is perfect. Okay, so the next thing is parameter association. So if I say, okay, let's see what kind of parameters that we have. We have the plinth and the elastomer, depth, and all those things. Okay, that's fine. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open this. I'm gonna create these parameters. Let's just create them. So let's just start with one plinth depth, and I'm gonna make it an instance parameter and say okay. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say let's select this bearing, and then I'm gonna go to see. Okay, actually what I'm gonna do is let's just say edit family again. Sorry about that. I'm gonna go to properties for our bearing, and every parameter we created on our bearing, I'm gonna make it an instance. I'm gonna make it an instance and say okay, and then I'm gonna load it back into our. No, I don't wanna save this. I'm gonna load it back into our peer family. Okay, so we've created the plinth in our peer family templates. So these are our parameters for our bearing, and then we created the plinth depth parameter. So I'm going to select this, associate, and then I'm going to associate that with our plinth depth that we have created. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to say okay. Let's see what we have. So if I change this to, let's say 350, let's see what happens. Okay, and then it's going to change like that. Did you see what happened? Very much intelligent. So I'm gonna go to what else it's left. So we need to create for elastomer depth, epoxy depth. plinth length and width. So let's go with plinth again. So I'm going to create one for plinth width. And by the way, the ones that you are creating inside your peer family template are type, not instance parameters. So you're going to say OK, and then again, plinth length. And you're going to say OK, and then you're going to say OK. You'll see the plinth will disappear because the width and length are set to 0. So I'm going to associate our length with this one. So plinth length and say OK, OK. And then I'm going to associate the width with our width and say OK. And say OK. So if I go to my properties, let's just set them to our width to 600 and let's set our length to 450 and then it's going to appear again. There you go. Perfect. So you're going to select this one and depth. It's associated. Print length. That's associated with length and say OK. Print width. I'm going to associate it with width and say OK. So perfect. So another thing is I'm giving you guys a task so you can do it yourself for the epoxy depth and also the elastomer depth. The last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press AL for align, and then I'm gonna align my bearings against my pier head so that when I adjust my pier height, the bearings will move along with my entire pier. So I'm gonna select my pier head first, and then lock it, and then so let's test this out. Go to properties. So reduce that. And for our pier shaft, I'm going to change it to 12,000 millimeters. Apply. Okay. So our pier head has moved along and our bearings have moved along. Let's try this with our pier head. So our pier head, I'm going to change it to 2.5. Apply, and our bearings have moved along with it. So this is very much an intelligent family. I'm going to load this into my Patreon. And I cover interesting topics like this much further in my membership. So make sure you join my membership on YouTube. There are different tiers which can suit your needs, but yeah, the cheapest one you can choose is the BIM modeler. And also, I cover things like this, like parameters and all those things, and advanced modeling. BIM specialist is more of parametric modeling and also computational design and also visual programming. So yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up a new project and then go back to that family, and then I'm just gonna load it in. Obviously, gonna place it like that, open up the 3D view. So when you select it, and these are the parameters that are going to appear. So if you go to edit type, these are the ones that you have. So you can just modify your pier head, your pier shaft, your pier plinth length and width, and also you have your depth also. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you learned a lot. And I task you guys to do parameter association for the elastomer depth and also the epoxy depth. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next tutorial. Make sure you join my membership. It's very much exciting times ahead of us, and I have a lot more to offer you guys. Thank you. Peace.